Do you know Brian was deaf in one ear and still changed music forever? Today, we're diving into 10 mind-blowing facts about Brian Wilson that'll change the way you hear his music forever. Fact 1. He could hear entire songs in his head. Imagine hearing an entire orchestra in your mind. Every instrument, every harmony, perfectly arranged without touching a single key. That was Brian. He could literally walk into the studio and hum parts to professional musicians like, "Yeah, trumpet goes like this. Now add a cello under that." Most people hear a song. Brian heard a symphony. Fact 2. He made pet sounds while everyone else was on tour. While the rest of the Beach Boys were touring Japan, Brian stayed behind to make a little side project that just happened to become one of the greatest albums of all time. Pet Sounds wasn't made in a big fancy music mansion. Nope, just Brian, some session musicians, barking dogs, and pure magic. And get this, he once filled his house with sand so he could feel like he was composing on a beach. Now that's commitment. Fact 3. He's deaf in one ear. Yep, the man who gave us the most iconic harmonies in pop music history could only hear in one ear. Some say he was born that way. Others say it happened after a blow to the head from his abusive father. Either way, he built musical worlds with half the hardware. Fact 4. He battled mental illness for decades. Behind the scenes, Brian was fighting a war with his own mind. Schizoaffective disorder, auditory hallucinations, crippling depression. There were days, even years, where he barely left bed. Yet, during those dark times, he still wrote music that lifted other people out of theirs. Fact 5. He invented modern studio magic. Before Brian, the recording studio was just a place to capture music. Brian turned it into a place to invent it. He used Coke cans, dog whistles, bicycle bells, even empty water jugs. Good Vibrations took over 90 hours to piece together from different sessions. He literally invented the idea of building songs in chunks, a technique we now call modular recording. So next time your favorite artist drops a complex track, thank Brian Wilson. Fact 6. He wrote music for lions, not just surfers. Okay, not literal lions, but check this out. The Beach Boys weren't always writing about girls, cars, and California. Brian wanted to write about feelings. He once said he wasn't writing music for the charts. He was writing it for people's souls. He wanted to heal the world through harmony. Fact 7. Paul McCartney called Pet Sounds his favorite album. Sir Paul himself said that Pet Sounds inspired the Beatles to create Sgt. Pepper's. That's right, one of the most iconic albums ever was a response to Brian Wilson's creativity. It was a beautiful rivalry. Genius inspiring genius. And it changed music forever. Fact 8. He was banned from music, literally. In the 80s, Brian fell under the control of a psychologist named Dr. Eugene Landy, who took over every aspect of his life, diet, money, even friendships. Brian wasn't allowed to write music, perform, or see his own family. It was legal, but it was horrifying. Thankfully, after a long battle, Brian broke free in the 90s. And that leads us to one of his most triumphant moments. Fact 9. He finished his Lost album 40 years later. Back in the 60s, Brian started working on a psychedelic masterpiece called Smile. But due to pressure, mental health, and bad vibes, he scrapped it. For decades, it was known as the greatest album never made. Until 2004, when Brian, now older and finally free, re-recorded the whole thing. He finished what he started. And it was beautiful. Fact 10. He was still making music. Despite everything, the fame, the breakdowns, the decades of silence, Brian Wilson was still creating.